Okay, today I'm going to try to show how a McCulloch BP-1 or a BP designed engine works. I believe McCulloch was the only one that did this. I'll stand corrected, I'm sure somebody else will know. They had a single cylinder, they had a snowmobile engine they tried, which I got the pleasure to see one of those today. This is the chainsaw engine. It is a balanced piston engine. It has a compression with 2 rings, piston for the combustion chamber, and it has a balanced piston that actually also works as an intake valve and compresses the crankcase to force the air in through the transfers into the combustion chamber to reload and refire. Standard chainsaw, the engine sits sideways, so you have a clutch and a rim sprocket chain runs off of it this direction, and a BP-1 it sits forward to the back. Your gear case actually sits out to the front like so, with your rim sitting off to the front and your bar coming out this way. Oriented different than any other chainsaw, well, other than the 35, 33s. I'm going to take the bottom off so we can see the balanced piston. And the balanced piston actually has no rings on it. It is just a valve. The sleeve for the balanced piston has 4 intakes, and then it's got kind of like an expansion chamber, basically to relieve the pressure of the crankcase. But with this in place, as it rolls over, at this point right now, the cylinder is at the bottom below the transfer ports right here, and as the engine rotates, it compresses. As the piston goes down, it compresses the crankcase and forces the air in faster into the combustion chamber, and it fires and rotates again. There's also a balancing mechanism right here underneath the clutch that is opposite of the piston itself, the combustion chamber piston. Step back and see if you can. Try to get a good view inside of that so you can see that rotating through. Instead of most engines that are either reed valve, the older style, or piston ported only, where the intake would be in this section with the combustion piston actually controlling the intake, this one is controlled by the balanced piston. And I'll tear the rest of it apart here and I'll scab the videos together. With the engine tore down, this is the sleeve for the balanced piston, as I showed. The bottom of the case, clamshell design. You can see right down here the intake, where the carb actually mounts is right here. It would sit just like this on the bottom of the motor. The balanced piston is right here. It is basically a solid lug machined out, very heavy. The balancing bit on the actual clutch is right there, and the piston is a thin ring piston. is actually ported similar to a boost port in the side of the piston here to throw mix through underneath the skirt and pass through another extra transfer that is on the exhaust side. There are 3 transfer ports. One goes through the piston, the other ones are traditional and go through a closed port transfer right through here. 3 transfer ports on either side. This cylinder looks pretty good. This is how McCulloch did it. After they casted it, they machined through the side, and then with some sort of epoxy they sealed up the outside of the case, or outside of the cylinder. Mounts for the coil and TJ-8J spark plug. Some home lights also use this plug. Getting kind of hard to find. That's it. This one will clean up pretty good. Got some parts to find and get it back together. Neat design.